It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Hello. Hopefully you guys are doing well out there in the interweb land out there that you guys are in. It is cold, windy, and rainy out here in California. Well, I guess I should define cold. It's about 47 degrees. So, we're kind of losing our minds over here, freezing. I think I turned my heater up to like 74 degrees in my house because I'm freezing. So I realize that here in California, we do not know what cold is, but I do find it funny to be able to see all the people that are on here complaining about snow and stuff. And then I'm just bitching because it's 47 degrees and a little windy. But we've had a little rain, which is, we get rain a couple times a year, but it definitely throws us off. Lots of accidents and stuff on the road, kind of hectic, kind of crazy. So hello to everybody. For the new people that are in here right now, I don't know why I do introductions to these, but for whatever reason, I get new people coming into the live stream and then ask me like during and stuff. But anyways, my name is Chris, and I'm an HVACR service technician here in Southern California. Make YouTube videos on this little YouTube channel to try to just share the little bit of knowledge that I have. So that's the whole purpose of this channel. Started as a for my employees as just a training aid, and then it turned into this machine that it has. A couple years later, here we are. Kind of crazy, very humbling. Thank you all for all the support. It's been awesome. Couple announcements. The HVACR Tools YouTube channel is launched, as many of you guys already know. Hopefully you guys are subscribed. If you haven't already, please go check out that channel, guys, and go subscribe. Help to support that channel by watching the videos and all that good stuff, We want to really get that thing off and running. I just posted a link in the chat right now. Just released a new video today. We did do the Testo Manifold giveaway on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. I don't remember who won, but we've already made contact with the person and had communication with them. So we've already verified. Now there will be another manifold giveaway very soon, another Testo manifold giveaway, because I believe Joe's going to go ahead and give his manifold away too. Stay tuned for details. We'll probably announce it on all the different platforms that we have. to try to get the word out. Of course, we're trying to draw exposure and awareness of the channel to try to help it to grow. Okay. We don't quite know where the HVACR Tools YouTube channel is going to go in the future. You know, we kind of been bouncing off a bunch of different ideas. If you guys don't already know, myself and the Overtime crew, so Joe, Adam, Bill, and myself are all contributing to that channel and making videos and stuff. So we're still trying to figure out the outline as to where it's headed. For right now, we're just having fun with it and just going to keep posting tool review videos. So we'll see how that all goes. If you guys have any interesting ideas, you can email me on any of my platforms, but I also, or any of my email addresses, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. We also have a specific email address for the tools channel. It's tools@hvacrvideos.com. Easy enough, right? So we're going to try to direct the traffic for the tool videos. So if you have ideas or anything you want to reach out to us on the tools channel, feel free to send us an email. Okay. This week, coming up on Thursday, Sporlin has another webinar. This one's going to be a little bit more geared towards, you know, my aspect, I guess I could say, because they're going to be talking about different methods of defrost, going through the 3 different methods of defrost. So you guys definitely want to check that out. The moderator bot is going to be posting a link to that. I'll go ahead and post a link here real quick before I forget. There it is right there. Kobach, thank you very much for that super chat. Value testers. Yes, thank you, bud. That's really cool. I appreciate that super chat, man. So I'm gonna calm down with my impersonations right now. So, yeah, that's really cool. All right, let's see what else we got going on in here. Cool. Right on. As usual, if you guys have anything you want me to cover in the chat, please feel free to put it in caps lock. I'll try to get to it. That way it gets my attention. You know, sometimes the chat goes by really fast. If I miss your chat, just keep posting it until myself or one of the moderators tells you to stop. If you guys miss anything, feel free to send me an email. Okay, you can go from there. My email is going to be posting constantly throughout the chat. Hello to everybody that's coming in. Jesus is asking what HVAC system I have in my house. I have been teasing that video forever. I have a ridiculously bad system installed in my own house. There goes the Coke nose, guys. I have a ridiculously bad install in my own house. It's been there since I moved in. It's way oversized. I have a 4-ton for my house. Probably only needs a 3-ton. It's a Arco Air. Arco Air, which is just an ICP, one of their, you know, off brands or whatever. Arco Air is sold through United Refrigeration in my area. I don't know who sells it in your area, but it works fine. It does what it needs to. My furnace is massively oversized. I'm pretty sure I have 100,000 BTU furnace in there, which is way overkill. But yeah, whole nother thing. Isn't that how it kind of works, guys? Is that the systems are just disastrous in our own homes, or the systems go neglected in different things? I've been thinking, like, it'd be really cool if I did one of these. I've just got so much going on. It's hard for me to keep up with all the little projects that I start and, you know, ideas that I have. But one of the ideas that I have is to do a whole from start to finish design, install, commission of my own system in my house. So maybe someday we'll do something like that. We'll get some big people involved maybe and do something cool with that. That's been something I've kind of thought about, but it's just, you know, with these videos, with YouTube, with everything, I have a life, right? I have my normal family. I have my normal business that takes precedent over YouTube. And then I have YouTube. And, you know, I try to focus as much time as I can, but it's just like a juggle between family life, YouTube, and work. It's kind of a struggle. And sometimes I just have a brain explosion. Like this Sunday, I was just done. I was done with everything. And I just wanted to lay down and watch TV and just veg out. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to think about anything. I wanted to watch the stupidest shows in the world just so that way I could just be entertained and not have to think. So sometimes I do kind of go through that manic state. Like Saturday, I was kicking butt, making videos, going through like a manic episode. And then Sunday, I was just the polar opposite, you know, just like blah. But anyways, that's what bipolar disorder does to you. So, got a couple things I want to talk about as usual, and then we'll get to the chat too, okay? So had a couple videos this last week. We actually did a bonus video on top of the 2 normal videos. So we had the kitchen AC is not working, okay? That was an interesting one. We had the bonus video, which was a presentation that I put together for Brian Orr's HVAC school. They had a training symposium this last week. Thursday through Saturday, and I had put together a video so that way he could present it at the training symposium. So I went ahead and edited it just a little bit and then threw that up on the channel as a bonus video. Now, all 4 of the videos that I showed clips from are normal YouTube videos. You may recognize some of them. They're some of the more interesting ones that were like the whole talk that I was trying to give was the big picture diagnoses and how, you know, skipping some of the simple steps in the beginning can compound and snowball and turn into a disaster. So I had a few videos that I showed that, and I thought it turned out pretty good. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. And then we had the walk-in cooler was warm, but when I got there, it was down to temp. So the video title was the walk-in cooler was warm, but now it's down to temp. Got some questions geared towards those 3 videos, and we'll definitely get into those. So do I ever get a vacation? Chad, I could if I wanted to, but it's kind of on me. It's hard to take a vacation. It really is. Oh, right on, Austin. That's really cool. Austin's a 16-year-old tech in training in Michigan. That's awesome, bud. Let's see. John is asking if the shitty power grid in California is the reason we all have so much gas and not heat pumps. Yeah, I would say that has a lot to... No, I wouldn't say it's because of the power grid, because California's power grid has been taxed in the last 10 to 15 years. It's been getting worse and worse because we have so many people moving into areas and they're not upgrading a lot of it. And then we have the high temperature issues and the high wind issues and stuff. But I honestly don't know why gas heating is so popular in California. I guess it could be something to do with the energy costs. Ironically, California is trying to push the gas out and go electric. There's some of the yuppie cities up in Northern California and the San Francisco area and stuff like that. Berkeley, they're really trying to impose new codes that eliminate gas-fired appliances from new builds, basically. So new housing communities and stuff like that, they're kind of requiring in some areas, the municipalities are, that the builds be done without bringing natural gas into the home. So it's an interesting thing. I mean, I kind of go between the two, you know, I guess with the advent of solar and stuff like that. But with the solar, you have to have like really serious battery backup systems to be able to run full HVAC systems and all your cooking appliances and stuff, because, you know, firing up an electric range, firing up a heat pump, man, that's really going to put a serious draw on your electricity, you know, consumption, I guess, or whatever, if I said that correctly. If you have a solar system, especially with a battery backup, like that's really going to draw down the power. So it's just a whole new thing that we're having to deal with. So I don't know. You know, it's one of those things where I don't fight too much of this stuff because I'm kind of just along for the ride. You know, there's only so much that I can influence and change when it comes to local politics and stuff like that. And some of it, it's just like, wow, that sucks, but what can you do? You know, I try not to stress too much about some of those things. I have enough stress in my life with work and all that kind of stuff. So try to focus on that. Let's see what else we got in here. I'm seeing what I'm missing in here. I saw a comment. No, Alaska, I don't have a 16 by 25 filter in mine, but what I actually do have is I don't have a filter box on my furnace. So right underneath the squirrel cage blower assembly, I have to fold a 20 by 24 inch 2-inch pleated filter to get it into there, and then I have like a giant C-clamp that I set on top of it so that way it doesn't suck up and bypass the filter. So I really want to make a video on it because it's kind of silly what I have to do to put a filter in my furnace. It's pretty funny. But I'm pretty sure my evaporator's clean, although, you know, now that I say this, I'm going to have to go ahead and pull the evaporator and clean it because I haven't cleaned it in like 9 years. But I do keep a filter on it. So, you know, knock on wood, we don't have problems. All right, let me see. Let's see. You don't need a battery backup if the system is sized correctly, Cyborg. But if you're trying to go completely off grid, you definitely need a battery backup, unless you're going to pull from the grid at nighttime and feed, you know, during the day and stuff. But you're going to need something when there's no sun outside. So, all right, let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, I guess the weather would be almost, yeah, definitely. We don't have very much, you know, extreme cold temperatures, at least in the lower climates in California. So, all right, so Kyle had emailed me and asked me, I think he emailed me, but he had asked me what the difference between hot gas bypass and a head pressure control valve is. So we're going to go ahead and segue a couple different questions and kind of talk about it. Now, in all fairness, I don't deal with a lot of hot gas bypass, okay? But I have a general understanding of the concept of hot gas bypass, and you're typically going to see it on built-up air conditioning systems, on heavy commercial or heavy industrial air conditioning systems, and you're also going to see it on some refrigeration systems when you're trying to do capacity control, okay? There's better ways to do capacity control, especially nowadays, by adding VFDs to the compressor, slowing them down, different stuff like that. But hot gas bypass is one way. Basically, in a nutshell, they're going to take the discharge gas and they're going to dump it into the suction line, but they're going to meter it. You're usually going to have a desuperheating expansion valve or something like that. I'm not going to go crazy into the hot gas bypass systems because, again, I'm not super familiar with them. I have a general understanding of what they're for, okay? Now, what's the difference between hot gas bypass and a head pressure control valve? Where they're actually two totally separate things. So hot gas bypass is capacity control, right? Versus a head pressure control valve is there to maintain the head pressure in the cooler ambient temperatures, okay? Because the head pressure control valve is simply there to, this is a cheesy LAC valve that I have a cutaway of right here. This is there to maintain a set pressure differential across the expansion valve, especially for thermostatic expansion valves, so that way the valve can work correctly. Expansion valves have to have a set delta P or pressure differential across the valve, so that way the valve can maintain the evaporator superheat properly. So I had another question from someone too in here, and let me cross that one off real quick. And let's go ahead and do that. And let me see this other question so that way I can knock them both out. William had asked, why do we flood the condenser with a head pressure control valve, and or there's a couple other valves that will flood the condenser, but why flood the condenser when we can just shut off a fan motor and drive the head pressure up? Because remember, we do condenser flooding to maintain a pressure differential, okay? Pressure differential means the pressure difference across the expansion valve. So you have the pressure coming out of the valve and you have the pressure going into the valve, okay? Your liquid line pressure going into the valve is directly affected by your condenser, okay? So if the outdoor ambient drops really low, then the easiest way to explain it, your head pressure is going to drop. When your head pressure drops, you lose that driving force to push the refrigerant through the system. So couple different methods to control that head pressure, okay? Flooding, condenser flooding, using head pressure control valves, holdback valves, OROA valves. They're all head pressure control valves, but there's that way. And then you can also do fan cycling. So William was asking, why not just use fan cycling? It seems easier. And while in theory it is easier because you're simply switching a motor based off of a pressure setting in the system using a fan cycling control, okay? What I find, and this is just my opinion, but what I find is fan cycling can be very violent on the system, especially if you only have one condenser fan motor. Now, if you have multiple condenser fan motors, fan cycling is probably a good method because you can stage the fans. You can shut them off, you know, individually, slowly to try to maintain head pressure. But especially here in California where we have mild winters, you know, during the day this week, today is cold, but tomorrow I think we're supposed to hit the 60s. And by the end of the week, we're supposed to be in the 70s, like 74, 75 degrees. Fan cycling will happen, but what'll happen, you'll notice, is the condenser fan motor shuts off, then your head pressure climbs up, and 20 seconds later, the condenser fan motor turns back on, and then 20 seconds later it turns off, and then 20 seconds later it turns on. Well, if you pay attention, the simplest way to understand how violent it is look at your sight glass. When that condenser fan motor is turning on and off, what you're going to notice is the liquid in your sight glass is going to start flashing. It's going to drain and then fill up and then drain and then fill up. And that same thing is happening. You can be feeding vapor down to your expansion valve in that situation, okay? So fan cycling is a good method, but you got to be careful. Sometimes people will use fan cycling in conjunction with a head pressure control valve. You have to be careful about that too, because you don't want them to interfere with each other. My opinion, head pressure control or condenser flooding is much better. Obviously, you know, you get bigger systems, you can put VFDs on the condenser fan motors. That's a pretty good way too, because you can slow down the condenser fan motors. I don't see that very often on my side of the field. So we see condenser flooding. Very common to see that, especially if you're working on ice machines for sure. So let's go ahead and mark that one off the list. And then let's go ahead and look at the chat and see what I'm missing here. What else do we got? When do I reuse recovered refrigerant or put in new refrigerant? Scott, you know, I tend to reuse recovered refrigerant quite often. If you have any kind of fear of any contamination, non-condensables in there and or acid or anything like that, then immediately I just get rid of the refrigerant. There's no, I'm not going to chance it. But yeah, I reuse refrigerant quite often. Majority of the time on the stuff that I do, we can do pump downs where we pump the refrigerant into the receiver and then do the repairs we need to do and then just evacuate the low side and put a new liquid line dryer and then go to town, right? Start it back up. So we get away with doing pump downs quite often in what I do. But yeah, then I will do recoveries. Yeah, I would say if I had to guess, probably 60 to 70% of the time, I'm going to be reusing recovered refrigerant. With that being said, you have to be really on top of the recovery cylinders to make sure that they're cleaned, evacuated, and ready to go when you put gas into them. So in my area, when I go to the supply house to get a recovery cylinder, there's two different types of cylinders that we get. We get a brand new cylinder and they come with caps on it, but that's it. And then if we have a cylinder that has plastic around the valves, that typically means that it's already evacuated, dehydrated, and it's ready to put refrigerant in. So if we get a brand new cylinder, we have to go ahead and pull an evacuation on it. Another thing that I would challenge you guys to do is next time you go to the supply house or next time you have a recovery cylinder, go ahead and open it up. Take that valve off the top of the cylinder and look down into it with a flashlight. I bet you anything that cylinder is going to have all kinds of crap inside of it. Recovery cylinders are notoriously dirty, especially if they're being reused often. So my supply house, the kind of cylinders that we get, we typically buy the cylinder and then we have an exchange program where we take it to the supply house and we have them pump out the refrigerant, but they give us another cylinder and then we just keep doing a swap back and forth. So the cylinder that I bought, really I'm just putting back into the system and then, you know, eventually I might get it back, I might not. But with that being said, I found a lot of cylinders that had a lot of crap. Like you could just pick them up and shake them and you can hear things inside of them. And it's like, yeah, I don't want that one, you know? So recovery can be kind of tricky. If, you know, you got to make sure you clean those cylinders before you put refrigerant that you potentially are going to reuse inside of it. Another thing to think about too, is if you're recovering R22 that has mineral oil in it, and then, you know, or that's in a mineral oil, you know, system, and you don't want to mix R22 that has POE in it because, you know, you might have oil droplets inside there and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a whole nightmare on that part. Have I seen a liquid line solenoid valve in a strange spot? Not really that I can think of right now. How is it that low ambient temperatures prevent refrigerant from efficiently condensing in the condenser? I wouldn't say that they prevent refrigerant from efficiently condensing in the condenser. It's just that, let's see, the easiest way to explain this is low ambient temperatures drop the condensing temperature of the refrigerant, right? The condenser temperature inside the condenser gets a lot lower as the outdoor ambient drops. And with that being said, you're not driving that refrigerant through the system at the proper flow rate, okay? Now, this isn't the craziest technical term, but this is the easiest way that I can explain it. The expansion valve, hold on. Especially the thermostatic expansion valve, this guy right here, it simply straps to the outlet of the evaporator suction line with this sensing bulb, and the valve opens and closes depending on the temperature of the suction line, okay? So this valve is set to maintain the evaporator superheat, but as the pressure differential across the valve gets too low, the valve no longer can properly control the system and it can actually completely lose control of it. And you would have a really hard time maintaining proper superheat, which can lead to a lot of things. If you have too high a superheat, you can lead to compressor failure problems. If you have too low of superheat, you can lead to compressor failure problems. So we want that pressure differential across the expansion valve so that way it can properly function. And this is especially important on thermostatically controlled expansion valves. Now, on electronically controlled expansion valves, you can get away with lower pressure differentials across them. It was extremely important on older expansion valves. Now, this is a Sporlan cutaway, and this is a newer style valve. So this is a balance port valve. It does a really good job of controlling capacity at the moderately low pressure differentials across the valve. But so hopefully that answers your question for you, bud. All right, let's see what else we got in here. How do I live in Cali and not speak Spanish? You know, it's just one of those things. I really wish I would have learned Spanish a long time ago. It would have helped my life tremendously. So let's see. HVACJ, you're saying that your Supco vacuum gauge finally took a dump and you wanted to know if anyone has any recommendations. I think everybody in the chat here right now is going to recommend that you look into a Hvacr Micron gauge by AccuTools. They're pretty much the best out there right now. They make great vacuum gauges. You have a couple different types you can get. You can get the budget model, which has an amazing sensor in it. The cool thing that I like about the Hvacr Micron gauges is they can handle positive pressure, which if you're doing an evacuation properly, when you're done with the evacuation, theoretically, when you try to pull that vacuum gauge off the system before you charge it, you're letting air into the system. So you really should be leaving the Micron gauge on there, unless you have it like double vacuum core removal tools to where you can actually isolate it. But, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I really like the Hvacr Micron gauges myself. So you can check them out at truetechtools.com. Have an offer code Big Picture, and there's actually usually affiliate links in the show notes of any one of my videos that'll help me out too if you want to do that, if you want to pick up one of those. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Can I explain the difference between an EEV and a TXV? Well, I'm going to give you the easiest explanation. This is a thermostatically controlled expansion valve, meaning that the valve is going to be modulated based on the suction line temperature, okay? And then there's mechanical action going on. You've got a gas charge in this power head that's pushing down on a bellows that's opening and or closing the valve, and then you have a spring in the bottom that's counteracting this pressure right here. On a EEV or electronically controlled valve, it's literally just a motor that spins, well, if it's a stepper motor style valve, it's a motor that spins to open or close, and it uses thermistors throughout the coil, and it usually has a logic board built into it somewhere. It has a controller or something that electronically, or basically a computer, that opens and closes the valve, okay? I have a cutaway. Now, this is not an EEV, but this is a stepper motor driven valve right here. And it's the same concept. And essentially, I don't know if the camera's going to focus on that. Hold on just a sec. Let's see if I can get this to focus. So, no, it's not going to focus, but you see that you've got a little piston inside there that's driven up and down. This is a Sporlan SMA 12, and this is a valve driver. You can use this for EEVs. I know you guys are going to be able to see this right now, but it literally just drives an actuator that goes up and down that opens and closes the valve. Sorry, that was horrible video quality there, trying to show you guys on that thing. But all right, what else do we got in here? What is the WTF moment chapter on my videos mean? John Deere fan. Yeah, I'm not going to spell that out for you on this live stream because I try to say somewhat clean, but use your imagination. If someone in the chat wants to explain that to him, feel free. All right, can I explain? I already talked about that one. I already answered that question. Let me go ahead and get to my list right here. So Rodney asked me, what tool am I using to test airflow and measure quick when I'm showing it on video? So first and foremost, when I'm working on package units, first off, I tell you guys all the time, airflow is king when it comes to, yeah, I like that, the 98 DeVille. TXV equals dumb valve, EEV equals smart valve. That's a good way to put it. That's the difference right there. Exactly. So, anyways, what tool am I using to test airflow when I'm working with Measure Quick? So when I'm working with Measure Quick, I'm using the automatically estimated airflow calculations. So Measure Quick has an algorithm built into it. It looks at the indoor conditions, the tonnage of the unit, and it has a magical voodoo magic way of telling you what the airflow is. Now it's just an estimate, understand that, okay? So I am not physically measuring the airflow. Things that you could use to measure the airflow, hot wire anemometer, flow hood, different things like that to actually measure the amount of air moving across the system and moving through the ductwork, okay? Airflow is very difficult to measure when it comes to commercial package units. It's really, really hard to measure, okay? You know, in residential, there's some estimated ways that you can use manometers and, you know, looking at the static pressure of the system and stuff like that, but that is not going to be an accurate way to measure airflow when it comes to commercial systems. Even on the residential side, that's just an estimation. So, but yes, when I'm using Measure Quick, I'm just using the automatically calculated estimations. I'm making an assumption that they're somewhat correct. I'm not really like, if someone ever asked me to physically measure the airflow of the equipment, I would not be using the Measure Quick measurement. I'd be kind of curious if we actually did put a flow hood on the vents and or traverse the duct with a hot wire anemometer, which is basically taking a series of measurements of the velocity of the air moving through and then taking the square, internal square surface of the ductwork and doing a calculation to figure out the CFMs. If I ever did that, I'd be really curious to see how accurate Measure Quick is. So, all right, let's see what else we got in here. Questions to ask an employee during an interview. Okay, employer, sorry. So questions for you as an employee to ask an employer. So that's a really good question. Remember something, guys. All of us, when we go to a job interview, now don't get cocky with this, but remember that we are interviewing the company just as much as the company is interviewing us, all right? Now, I realize young guys first getting in the trade, they just want to get their foot in the door. They'll take anything they can get. I get it, but you also need to be careful with that. But as an employee, right, or as an interviewee, I guess I should say, what can you ask the potential employer, okay? So first and foremost, you want to be honest with them, okay? Be upfront. The best, you know, I'm not going to say I've hired them or I didn't, but the best employees that I've hired or the best interviewees that I've had are been people that have been honest. Now, I've hired people that have had problems. We've worked through them. So it's, you know, things that normally people wouldn't hire someone for. I've taken a chance on some people, and some people it worked out, some people it didn't. So just be honest. That's the biggest thing. There's nothing worse as an employer to hire someone and then a couple weeks later you find out you can't get them insured because they have DUIs on the record and they didn't disclose that to you. Then you have to let them go, you know? So as an employee or interviewee, I guess I should say, I would say first you need to ask just the basic questions. You know, what's the pay structure going to be like? You know, what are the benefits, all that stuff. But then, you know, you want to know what the company culture's like. You want to know what the other employees are like in the company. And if it is possible, I'm not saying that everybody's going to let you do this, but if it is possible, if you make it through a series of interviews and they think that you're, you know, a good candidate for hiring, what I would suggest you do is try to get them to let you do a ride along with a couple different people in the company. And you can kind of feel out the other people in the company too. Now, some places might not want to go for that, okay? The way that we do things is we typically do ride-alongs where someone comes and works with me for a day or two, but that's getting even harder and harder with the kind of craziness that, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But I love doing ride-alongs with people. So you do a in-person interview and then you schedule some time for them to come work with you for a day. And then you can kind of gauge them, you know, feel them out and see how things are going. So, but if I was going to work for a company today, the questions that I would be asking would be about the pay structure, be about the clientele they service, what kind of predictions they have for the coming years. Now, of course, they're never going to know everything, but I mean, do they predict that things are going to slow down? When are there slow times? Because every company out there has slow times. So, or are they so busy and they work you so hard that, you know, you never even can breathe? Those are things you want to worry about too. You don't want to be like going into a company and having to work 80 hours a week. You know, you're not going to have a life outside of that company. So if I didn't answer any of the questions that you were kind of hoping I would answer, feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Okay. Let's see what else we got in here. Okay, I don't know what that is right there. What am I missing? If you aren't adding or removing gas, is there a good reason to use a set of gauges instead of smart probes? The 98 DeVille. I've been using smart probes a lot more lately than gauges, but when it does come to refrigeration repairs, I will typically use my gauges, especially if I know from the beginning that more than likely I'm going to be adding refrigerant. Yeah, I'll probably go ahead and put on my actual gauges versus the smart probes. If I'm doing package unit work on air conditioners and stuff, I tend to lean towards my smart probes, and I can charge with my smart probes too. So I have no problem. But I mean, if you're not adding or removing gas, is there a good reason? No, if you know you're not going to be adding or removing gas, then yeah, smart probes will be fine. But something you need to think about, here in California, we have really hot summers, and there's times where I could be working out in the low desert out in the Palm Springs area, which is a ways away, and I can't have my phone in my pocket without it overheating. So let alone trying to run apps and software on it, it's not going to fly. I mean, not even being in the sunlight, just being outside in the 115-degree air, your phone is going to overheat. Especially when you have like OtterBox cases, because I have Otter cases on my phone to protect it from drops and stuff. That doesn't help anything with you know, it overheating and stuff. So that's all stuff you got to worry about for sure. Let's see what else we got in here. We go to my list. I already answered that one that Rodney had asked me. Mark had asked me, ooh, this is a good question. So Mark had sent me a question. He was working on a beacon system, and he noticed that there's ice droplets all over the ceiling. And he's asking, and what he notices is that the evaporator fan motors have no delay, and the evaporator fan motors immediately turn on when it comes out of defrost. Okay, so that shouldn't be the case, but there's another thing I'm going to tell you, that a lot of the times on the beacon systems and the QRC systems or the intelligence systems, yes, the evaporator fan motors should not turn on immediately out of defrost, but they typically have something that they call drip time built into the algorithm. And you can sometimes change the drip time. So out of a defrost, it may say drip time or it may not, but it might be built into the defrost. But essentially, it's the time where it just lets the evaporator dry out, basically, before it turns on the evaporator fan motors. But to answer your question, yes, there should be a delay from the moment that the heaters turn off till the moment that the evaporator fan motors turn on. So the system should turn on, the coil should get cold, and then refreeze anything that's potentially left on it, and then turn the evaporator fan motors on. So in a walk-in freezer, if you guys don't know, if you walk into a walk-in freezer and you notice the ceiling is full of droplets of ice, that typically means that there's a defrost issue, okay? And it can be a couple things. It can be that there's no defrost termination, okay? And potentially the defrost is going way too long to the point that the ceilings start to condensate because of the warm air coming off the evaporator coil, and the ceiling will start to condensate, and the little water droplets will start to get loose, and they'll just sit there, and then the system turns back on, and then they refreeze, okay? That can be an indication of too long of a defrost. Another thing that can happen, if you have a lot of ice on the fan guards and on the shelves, it could be a door being left open, but it can also be that the evaporator fan motors do not have a delay. And what can happen is when the system turns back on, all that condensation that's on the coil, the evaporator coil, the fans will immediately blow that condensation off of the evaporator coil out into the box, and then it'll refreeze. So hopefully I kind of answered your question. I think I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, Mark, but that should make sense a little bit. Devin had asked me what tablet that I use, and I get this question actually quite a lot. So I've said it before in a few videos. I use a tablet at work when I'm working with smart probes and Measure Quick and the Fieldpiece app, and I have a couple different apps that I use it. I do not have an expensive tablet. I purposely buy a very inexpensive, it costs like $200-300 tablet, okay? It is a Samsung Galaxy Tab A. I buy a Wi-Fi version, so it does not have internet connectivity or anything like that. And the reason why I do that is I fear that I'm going to lose that tablet one day. I have a pretty good handle on my phone because it stays in my pocket and it's kind of my lifeline, right? I don't like using my phone for Measure Quick for a couple reasons. The main being that I film my calls with my phone. So it's a little awkward to try to film my calls while I'm looking at my phone, looking at Measure Quick. So I typically use a tablet. But also a tablet has a bigger screen, so it's easier to see. I like the Galaxy Tab A because it's very inexpensive, and if I was to lose it, it's not a big deal, and it isn't. So honestly, the Tab A costs maybe $200, $300 at Costco. I don't buy the very fancy version. For me, the processing power is just enough. If I ever need to use internet for it, I just turn on a hotspot in my phone and then go from there. Easy Heat Cooling, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. That is awesome. I really appreciate it. So hopefully that answers your question, Devin. And let's get to the chat right now and see what I'm missing. All right. When you were young, you worked many different... Oh, okay. T-Tech is T-Lec. I don't know why I read that. T-Tech is saying, don't work for an employer who doesn't do the work themselves. I see some truth in that, okay? Meaning that, you know, the boss actually gets out there and turns wrenches every once in a while. But you do need to understand something. As the company gets bigger and bigger, the boss needs to go into the office because the office is a whole nother business aside from the service techs out in the field. So while I understand what you're saying, you definitely want a boss that cares and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. But I am a service technician that runs a business, but I don't run the business alone, okay? My dad still works in the business. While he doesn't really turn wrenches anymore, he hasn't for many years. Occasionally, he'll come out and help me out on a job. Tomorrow, he's going to come out on me on a walk-in install and kind of help me out and give me some support too. But we split the time. If I didn't have my dad working in the office, I would have to be in the office because it's a full-time job, billing, emailing, finding work, dealing with all the drama crap that comes from the office. I hate working in the office. That's my least favorite part of the job. So you definitely need someone, and running a business is a full-time job just in the office alone. Okay. And we have a secretary too. And I mean, we still need to be in the office quite often. And I have to spend probably 1 to 2 days a week in the office myself, even though I hate it, doing emails and quotes and different stuff like that. So yes, you definitely want someone that's still willing to get their hands dirty, a service manager that comes out into the field every once in a while. But the bigger the operation gets, the more office staff you're going to need. And there's a lot of bad that can happen in the office if a principal person of the business is not in there controlling things and making sure the office is running smoothly. All hell can break loose. So, all right. What type of water hose do I use on my service calls, and can it withstand hot water? Chad. So yes and no. I've had businesses that have exploded my water hoses because they have no regulators on their hot water, and it just gets too darn hot. But I will use the black rubber hoses. They're 5/8 inch ID inside diameter. They're made by Goodyear and or Continental Tire. I buy them from Home Depot. They tend to last the longest for me. I usually get a couple years out of my hoses, but as a caveat, people that have worked with me know this, that I'm crazy about my hoses and my ropes and my extension cords, okay? So when I'm using a hose, I'm not kidding with you, every single time I take a damp towel, I wipe down the entire hose, I dry it off, I drain the hose, I roll it up, I put it away dry and put it back in my van every single time. Because to me, there's nothing worse than picking up your hose and having it be greasy and nasty and throwing it on your shoulder, and then your shirt has a big stain on the top. It's just a disaster. So I'm crazy about my hoses, and that's probably why they last so long. My hoses usually last a long time. Actually, I had a really good question that's going to kind of segue into. Where is it at? I know it's in here. Hold on. Not there. Oh, yeah, there we go. Gerald had asked me, why don't I just leave hoses on the roof when I'm done instead of carrying them up on the roof every single time? And he kind of mentioned, just put them into the price of the call, put them into the price of the service contract. And while Gerald is absolutely correct, if you can leave hoses on a roof of a customer that you go to on a regular basis, that little bit of time that it's going to take you to take that hose, bring it up onto the roof, hook it up and all that stuff, you will save a lot of time, and it's going to make your job easier. Unfortunately, I try to do that as much as possible, Gerald. But my customers, they go up on the roof and they take the hose. The hose disappears. So I have a customer, actually the one that I just did a video on where I was working on the refrigeration rack for the walk-in cooler and I changed the temp control. Yeah, that customer right there. Several of the locations, I leave a hose on the roof and I come up the next time and the hose is gone. Okay. They don't have a lot of contractors on the roof. So, you know, the customer goes up there and hoses off the awnings and different things like that. But my hoses always go missing. So, you know, occasionally I will do that. And I always charge the customer for the hoses. So I do not leave hoses on the job site without charging them. I've learned that one. Don't get burned by that one because those hoses are like 40 bucks a pop. And you can't afford to be leaving $80 in hoses at each restaurant. And then the next month you come back and they're gone. That just is frustrating as all get up. So I will try to leave my hoses on the roof when I can. But yeah, I'm not a fan either. I know a lot of people like those pocket hoses and different things like that. I have not had any good luck with pocket hoses. They all explode. They all rip. When you're rolling them up, trying to drain them, they get kinks in them. They all suck in my opinion. So if you're working with cold water all day long, sure, a pocket hose might be a good idea. But they're almost impossible to clean too. The pocket hoses are the ones that collapse down into a small little bag and you can shove them in there. I like the idea of being able to throw my hose in a bag, but it gets all dirty and nasty. And where I absolutely will not tolerate pocket hoses is in a restaurant, because if I have a rubber hose and you maintain it, you know when there's going to be a failure of that hose. You can start to see bubbles and different things. A pocket hose, you could drag it through a restaurant and you could be working on something and all of a sudden the thing explodes and you don't know it, you know, and it can make the biggest mess in the world. So for liability reasons, the rubber hoses are much better, especially if you're running them through a restaurant to defrost a walk-in freezer or something like that. Let's see. Vincent, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. I appreciate that you like the content. Guys, I'm going to say this. I've said it a million times. I do not know everything, nor will I ever know everything. I make mistakes every single day. In the very beginning of my videos, I kind of had like an imposter syndrome kind of feeling because I felt like I was editing out too many of my mistakes and I wasn't showing the true realness, you know. So I really made an effort to show more of my mistakes. But the important thing is I try to learn from my mistakes and I show them and I, you know, make sure that I point them out in the videos like, hey, I shouldn't have done it like this, or I messed up on this, or hey, even some of you guys will reach out to me and say, hey, I have a better way that you can do that, or hey, I think you screwed this one up. I'm open to all of that stuff, guys. If you guys have feedback or anything, leave me a comment, send me an email. I'm always trying to grow to be a better service technician. I think we should all try to be better at that kind of stuff, okay? Android Man is his screen name, had asked me why I didn't use the testo manifold in my recent video. Guys, I think I've said it a few times, and I'll say it again. I'm a field piece guy, okay? I bought the testo manifold, and we bought a bunch of them for the HVACR Tools channel because we were all curious. I had never used testo stuff in my life. Now, while I'm not going to get rid of my testo manifold, I'm going to keep it. I'm more inclined to be using my field piece stuff just because I like it more, okay? There's some cool features that the testo manifold had, but to be honest with you, that testo manifold is going to be my backup manifold. It's going to sit in the back of my van in case something happens with my field piece one. I always keep a backup manifold. Before that, I had a field piece S-Man 460, I think, whatever, the non-job link one. And actually just shipped that off today to someone. I just gave it away to someone that was asking about tools and stuff. I don't do that all the time, but someone had emailed me right at the right time and asked if I had any tools I was willing to sell. And I was cleaning out my van that day and I figured, you know what, I'll send you this manifold. He's a new guy coming up in the trade. And what a better way to introduce him into a brand new set. Well, almost brand new field piece S-Man 460. So sent him that. But yeah, I'm going to keep the testo as my backup. And I still have some more videos to do with the testo. So it's not that you're never going to see it in the videos again. I still want to get some more video footage for the tools channel showing different features that it has and stuff. So just to be clear, when it comes to the tools channel, the tools channel is HVACR Tools. Okay. Myself and the Overtime crew are going to be doing videos on it. We're going to be posting them. I just posted another one today talking about the CoreMax tool. I just posted a link in the channel or in the chat. So, you know, we haven't figured out the exact direction of the channel, but there's going to be some stuff that we're all going to review. There's going to be some stuff that only some of us are going to review. Me personally, I really don't plan on getting rid of many of the tools that I purchased for that channel. I'm probably going to keep them and use them for demonstration purposes and different stuff like that. And, you know, just kind of go with that. So we're just going to have fun with it. We don't want it to become a job for us. We want it to be something fun, just kind of like how I treat HVACR videos. It's just, I don't ever want it to become something that's a job. And there's times where I felt like it started to get that way. If you don't use the Testo, would the batteries leak out? Chad. Yeah, I'm sure if I didn't use it forever, I would probably need to take the batteries out of it or something like that. Yeah. But one thing I am going to say, I'm going to give Testo some credit because of that screen that they use on it. You know, it's like a old liquid crystal display or LCD. I guess you can call that. Duh, you dummy. But it's not fancy, right? It's not LCD. I don't know what it is, but whatever kind of display, it's just like a cheesy display. That battery lasts forever, guys. I'm not kidding with you. I had left it on like overnight, I think for like 2 nights in the back of my van because I turned the backlight on to stay on all the time. And I forgot. And I went out to my van like that night or the night, 2 nights later or something like that. And the damn thing was still on. So the batteries, it has a really good battery life for sure. So, all right, let's see what else. Does the WTF moment chapter mean some new issues jump out at you? Yeah, it's just the, oh my gosh, something, you know, interesting, you know, WTF, what did I find? You know, something weird, you know, surprised me or something like that. All right. Let's see what else we got in here. What else do we have? Yeah, Testo 557's okay for backup field piece daily driver for TLEC. You know, that's just my thing. I'm a fan. I'm not saying that the Testo is better than the field piece or the field piece is better than the Testo. I prefer the field piece for myself. Other people prefer the Testo. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having different opinions, okay? I love the giant screen about the field piece. I love how big the field piece manifold is. Other people don't like how big it is, and that's fine. I just like it. So I've always liked it. When I was doing a leak check the other day, I had a question on my video. I don't remember the person's name, but they had asked me when I was looking for a leak, they were just kind of curious. If I take my leak detector and I put it right on the leak source and it gets just a mass blast of refrigerant into the sensor, is that going to contaminate and or ruin the sensor? The short answer is I don't think so. I mean, it's a leak detector. It's meant to detect refrigerant. Now, I will say that you have to zero out the leak detector. So, you know, different leak detectors that you use, you put it on there, they get a high blast of refrigerant. It's going to go crazy. You have to take it. It has like an auto zero feature if you have it turned on. You can go between features, but I have mine set to auto zero where you take it out, put it into an open air area where there's no leak, let the sensor recalibrate, zero out, then you put it back on the leak and try to locate it again. But I mean, I don't think you're going to run into any problems. I wouldn't think that would be something smart if a leak detector was contaminated with refrigerant to where it wouldn't work anymore. I guess I can see where you're going with the question, but I don't really have an educated answer on that one. But, you know, I mean, my leak detector works just fine. I don't know if you guys have kind of figured it out with my videos, but when it comes to tools, I really don't like to read instructions. I like to turn them on and just figure them out. So maybe I should read the instructions. It's funny because I don't advocate, or I advocate for reading installation instructions when it comes to equipment, so that way you know how to install it. But when it comes to tools, I just feel like they should be very intuitive. If I was selling something to a customer, a tool or something like that, of course I'd want to read the instructions. But when it's for my own consumption and or own use, I don't like reading instructions when it comes to tools. I feel like they should be intuitive and you shouldn't have to dig into that crap. Holy crap. Easy Heat and Cooling. Dude, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. That is amazing, bud. Wow. So ultrasonic leak detectors. I tested out an ultrasonic leak detector about a year ago, and in my field, it just wasn't something that was practical for me. Now, my buddy Rick over at what is Rick's channel's name? Northwest Ohio HVAC? Yeah, that's Rick's channel's name, right? Guys, post a link to Rick's channel in the chat right now because I'm having a brain fart on his channel name. It's Northwest Ohio HVAC, I think. Yeah, it better be. I'm crazy if I'm not thinking of it. But Rick loves but he uses the ultrasonic leak detector, and he likes it. I don't. Rick and I have kind of talked about it. Rick did a bunch of tests on leak detectors. You guys need to go check out Rick's channel too, because Rick did a God damn it. I'm having a brain fart. I'm going to go crazy if I don't remember Rick's channel name right now. What a punk friend of me. Where is Rick's channel, guys? I know it's in the chat right now. Where is it? It isn't Northwest Ohio. That's his old channel name, huh? Gosh darn it. It is his old channel name. Come on, I'm having a brain fart right now, guys. What's Rick's channel name? Someone posted in the chat. Good gosh, I can't believe I'm doing that. That's embarrassing. But anyways, yeah, he likes the ultrasonic, and he did some cool leak detector tests too. So, all right, what's the defrost strategy for Hill Phoenix wants for... What is my defrost strategy? Hill Phoenix wants 2 50-minute defrosts, and Zero Zone wants 4 30-minute walk-in freezer. I've always been a 4 30-minute. So remember the 30-minute time frame. HVACR Survival. Good gosh, I can't believe I was tripping on Rick's name. HVACR Survival is his YouTube channel, so definitely go check that out. So let me look that up real quick. I owe him that much to be a good friend and not forget his YouTube channel name. So I'm going to post a link to Rick's channel, guys. If you guys are not already subscribers, please go check out Rick's channel and subscribe. He's got some really cool tool reviews and some great videos on there, okay? Good gosh. Yeah, I was having a hard time with HVAC Survival. But go subscribe to Rick's channel, okay? And tell him I'm sorry. I couldn't remember his channel name for a minute. But you got to give me credit. I was naming his old channel. So, all right. So defrost strategy. I've always been a 4 30-minute defrost for a walk-in freezer, but remember that time frame is the fail-safe time. Okay, you should have defrost termination in there. So typically it's going to defrost, then the defrost termination switch is going to turn the defrost off at about 15 to 20 minutes. So it's typically not going to go through a full 30-minute defrost. So yeah, that's what I've always done. Now in some situations we might adjust that accordingly. But if it has defrost termination, there's really no sense in going over 30 minutes because rarely is the defrost termination ever going to let the defrost run longer than 30 minutes. But Zero Zone cases and Hill Phoenix cases and, you know, like the refrigerator lineups that they have at, you know, 99-cent stores and stuff like that, you know, those are going to be, you're going to need different defrost strategies based off of the customer opening and closing the doors and all that crap. So, all right. What else? Can I fill my van with fan motors for the summertime? You go through them a lot. Yeah, I mean, but it's a constant juggle to put too much stuff in your van. If I fill it with fan motors, where am I going to put all the other stuff? I like my van to be functional and stuff. So I usually keep 1 or 2 fan motors in my van. But you know, when I'm working on Lennox package units a lot, I usually sell them a condenser fan motor and a fan blade because they're all rusted out and nasty. So I can't stock fan blades in my van. So, luckily we have a lot of supply houses around us. So, all right, let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, Rick does stream on Sundays. So, what else we got? I'm going to go to my list here. Samuel was asking me what meter I use. He was wondering about getting the Fieldpiece SC680 fully loaded clamp meter. So Samuel, the SC680 is an amazing meter. It has dual temperature displays. I think it has all the features that they offer. It's amazing. The only downside to the SC680, which is their fully loaded clamp meter, is the size. It's huge. It's like this tall. It's fat. I have one. It's a great meter. It's just hard to keep it in a small bag. My personal preference, Samuel, is the SC480. So the SC480, the difference between the 680 is it doesn't have the dual temperature. I think it has dual temperature. Yeah, it doesn't have the dual temperature. It doesn't have the swivel head. And there's a couple other small features. But for me, the SC480 is my jam. It does phase rotation, capacitance. It does all the other tests that I needed to do. It syncs with JobLink and all that stuff. So the Fieldpiece SC480 is my jam for sure. There's links in the show notes if you're interested in purchasing any of those. TrueTechTools.com, offer code Big Picture, all that stuff. Rick had asked me, he had emailed me and said he's wanting to get into the trade, but he's 55 years old and he wants to know if that's too old to be practical and actually get work done in the trade. So Rick, that is kind of a loaded question. 55 years old, depending on the shape that you're in and stuff, can be kind of hard in this trade, okay? But it doesn't mean you can't get in it. I would just urge you to look into more institutional type work. Go to work for a school district. Go to work for a facility where you're not doing a lot of crazy moving up and down. But I mean, Rick, if you're 55 and you're in amazing shape, then you're probably going to do fine. Okay. But the sad thing is most of us, including myself, as you get older, you kind of get out of shape and you're not in the greatest conditions. And it's harder because breaking into this trade, you're going to do a lot of back breaking, hard work, climbing in attics, climbing in crawl spaces, tight spaces, you know, that kind of stuff. And as you get older, that might be a little bit harder for you. So it's really a loaded question and depends on your situation. Blanket answer though, is 55 too old to get in the trade? No, it's not. But you need to kind of pay attention to what you're getting into. I deal with restaurants. I'm laying on top of shelves. I'm borderline a little bit too heavy to be laying on top of some of the shelves that I lay on. Different stuff like that. So, you know, get more into a commercial setting where you're walking on roofs and you're not climbing in attics very much. Hey, you know, you might do just fine. So no, it's not too old to get into the trade. And I encourage anybody that's interested to get into the trade. It's a great trade to be in. So, Alaska says that his SC660 fits just fine in the MB2 bag. That's correct. That's the tall meter bag that Vito makes. And he says it works perfect with his impact and his lineman. So that's great. Yeah. Nothing wrong with the meter. It's an amazing meter. Okay. So the 660 is the next one down from the 680, or 660 is the previous version of the 680. Basically the 680 has job link capabilities. I think that the 660 didn't. I think I have a 660. I don't think I have a 680. Because I think I bought the 480 instead. So what do I think of the SC640? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the tall package. But I would encourage you, what is it that you want from the 640 that you can't get from the 480? I really like the small package myself of the 480, and it does all the stuff that I like. But the 640, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Fieldpiece makes great products, guys. I really like a lot of Fieldpiece's stuff. So do I have new knees? That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good point, because the older you get, the harder it gets to kneel down and do all that stuff for sure. Do I hire HVACR North to attempt to manage the chat? Do I hire HVACR North? No, I do not hire HVACR North. Joe is my buddy. So let me see what else in here. Do I think it's necessary to provide customers with pictures of my repairs and work? Mr. Green, my customers could care less about pictures and repairs of the work. I've tried sending my customers videos. They don't even watch them. So some customers might be different. I got to give a big shout out right here to my buddy Bill for sending me my cool pineapple cup for Christmas. I think this was Christmas that Bill sent this to me. He sent my wife a pink pineapple cup too, just to troll her. If you don't know what we're talking about, you guys definitely got to go watch the HVAC Overtime show on Friday nights. I do that with my buddies, HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. I'm going to post a link in here right now. There's a running joke in the Overtime channel about the pineapple cups and stuff. So you got to go join the pineapple party in the chat in the Overtime group. So go check it out for sure. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. Okay, yeah, so the 660, oh, that's right. There you go, Rich. Yeah, so the 660, you had to have the little dongle thing from Fieldpiece to connect it to JobLink, and the 680 connects automatically to JobLink. That is right, because they went from Bluetooth to their proprietary connection thing or whatever. Yeah, I do remember that because I had to buy that little dongle thing. Let's see. Yeah, see, Scott knows what it's about in there in the Pineapple Crew. So, all right, let me see what else we got in here. So Chris works for a large company, and he emailed me because he feels like he's going nowhere. I'm paraphrasing what he said. And he wanted to know if he should look for a smaller company versus a large company. Okay. This is a great question. And really, I'm going to combine this question with another one. Because Michael had asked me if he should go work for the union as an apprentice. He has an opportunity. He's just getting into the trade. So I'm going to answer both these questions together, and it's a really easy answer. It really depends on the area you work in and what you and your family need. Okay. You need to look at your family. You need to look at your loved ones, your kids, whatever. And you need to say, if I join the union, are they going to provide me consistent work? Are they going to give me good training? Or if I go to a private company, are they going to give me good training, good work, whatever? It really comes down to what you like. I have nothing bad to say about union versus non-union. It really depends on the area that you're in. And the same thing goes for you, Chris, with a large company. You know, there's things that a large company can provide that a smaller company can't, right? I can't provide my employees with vision, dental, for their family, for their kids, you know, health insurance for their entire family, that kind of stuff. larger companies, there's some of them out there that do provide that for your entire family because they're bigger companies and they have bargaining power when it comes to health insurance and stuff like that. Smaller companies, you know, not all, but most smaller companies have more of a family type atmosphere. Okay. You know, you're going to have probably less freedoms with a smaller company than you will with a bigger company. So, I mean, you know, it really depends on what's good for you and your own, really. Okay. So union or non-union, it depends on the area you live in. I live in Southern California. The union is not extremely strong in my area. While I have some good friends that are in the union and they love their jobs, they have great benefits and they love working on what they work on and they get great training in the union too. I have friends that are non-union and they love their jobs in the same way. So it really depends. Okay. So if you go to a union heavy state, it might benefit you to look into the union because you might have better benefits and, you know, it might be a better working environment. I don't know. Okay. So you're going to want to reach out to people, reach out to the people in the area, talk to the supply houses, talk to the employees and see what they like about the companies they're working on, you know, working for and stuff like that. So it really depends on what you and your family need for both of those questions. So hopefully I answered those appropriately for you guys. Let's see what else we got in here. Cross those ones off the list. All right, I'm going to get to the chat right now. Retirement's a big thing. You know, does the union provide better retirement benefits than the non-union company? I don't know. You know, it really depends on it. Or can you go work non-union, maybe make a couple bucks more, maybe make money, make less, but you can handle your own retirement, putting money into that. I don't know. You know, so it really depends on what you have. But the core things when you're starting out in the trade, you need to look at what you're going to be working on, what the stability of the company is, what your benefits are, okay, and what your family needs are. That's the most important thing, okay? So if you're out there working 80 hours a week, are you really paying attention to your family? Is it even possible? Are you being the best person for your family that you can possibly be working 80 hours a week? I don't know. I mean, that's a question for you. For me, if I work 80 hours a week, I'm non-existent if I even come home. Right. And when I do come home, I'm going to be pissy. I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to want to talk to anybody. The littlest things are going to set me off. So it really depends on your personality too when it comes to that. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Guys, if you haven't already, please smash the thumbs up button. We have 330 people watching right now and only 170 likes. So smash that, help it out. Really helps the channel grow. Okay. Have I ever heard of a compressor explosion? No, I can't. I mean, I've seen some social media posts, but Daryl Yaz, frost on a compressor for a Scotsman ice machine, is that a major concern? Not necessarily. Again, I don't know all the variables there, but frost coming back to a compressor on an ice machine, that's not the end of the world, especially if it's towards the end of the freeze cycle. You'll tend to have a little bit more frost coming back to the compressor. So I'm going to say that's kind of a loaded question. I'm not going to say 100% that it's okay, but it's not going to scare me to death. Now, is the whole compressor cold or is it just on the suction line coming back to the top? If the whole compressor is covered in ice and frost, then yeah, you probably need to look into something. You probably have a valve issue or something like that. Let's see what else we got in here. I saw something in here that I wanted to answer. Has something ever blown up in my face before? No. Why do we get paid less than electricians and plumbers, but do what they do and more? I think that really depends on the area you work in because, you know, different areas, I would say that we kind of all make the same wages, you know, different things. So I don't know. Are they commission, non-commission, that kind of stuff? All right. What else we got in here? Throw some more questions in the chat, guys, and I'll get to them. Kind of running out of steam here right now. Let's see. Is it the same promo as before? 10%. No, I've never had a 10% promo, Rick. Right now, it's an 8% discount on TrueTechTools.com using the offer code Big Picture, but I believe that is changing all across the board. I don't know all the details as of yet. I think TrueTech is changing something, or we'll figure out more as time comes, but I'm sure you're still going to be able to get an 8% discount code, but I think yeah, it's kind of confusing. But no, my promo code currently right now is an 8% discount code. Jump on the union and you could always leave and come back. Hey, that is a great point, Bear Downs. You definitely could. Again, especially if you're in Chicago, because that's a union heavy place right there. So yeah, jump in the union. And if you don't like it, you can bounce, but you know, yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, just really depends on what's good for you and your family. So, and some companies do have union and non-union for sure. So, I'm going through the list, seeing what I'm missing in here right now. What kind of pants do I wear? You prefer blue jeans with 1% polyester so they stretch. Firecrow 797, what I want you to do, I use the 511 tactical strike pants is what I use. So Firecrow 797, if you're still watching, I'm posting a link to the tools channel right now. The very first video that I posted in the HVACR tools YouTube channel is my pants review. And I bought like 5 or 6 different pairs of pants and tried them out for a couple months and kind of concluded that I like the 511 tactical ripstop nylon pants. How important is indoor air quality to me? Juvenile. Well, first off, I'm not a believer in a lot of these these things that you add on, the UV lights and all that different stuff. I'm not saying they don't work, but me personally, I'm a firm believer in fresh outdoor air, cleaning your evaporator, having good air filtration on there, and cleaning the air essentially. Okay, that's always been my stance. Now, I have installed bipolar ionizers for customers, different stuff like that because the customers wanted them. So I'm not saying they don't work. I'm just saying I'm a firm believer in just bring in clean, fresh air and exchange it often. And you should probably be pretty good. But I am nowhere near qualified to say that that is the best thing for your health and different stuff like that, okay? So you want to talk to the fancy science people and stuff like that. But what I would encourage you is when you read these claims that a lot of these companies have about these air cleaners and air quality, insert name of whatever here, and they all say third-party approved kills, and they claim, how come that third party is never revealed, right? Who's the third party that said that this is the best air cleaner out there? What's their name? Where did you, where did you get this? Did you pay for that review, or was it an independent lab that tested your product and said your product was the best? So there's a lot of deceptive marketing out there when it comes to indoor air quality. Be very cautious and tread lightly when you trust claims written on a box of something that they probably paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to have that image made with the perfect picture, with the perfect slogan, with all this different stuff on there. So just be cautious, okay? Let's see what else we got. Let's see. More bang for your money buying Vito from Vito than getting free smaller bag. More bang for your money buying Vito. I don't know what are you saying to Sharky to buy it from Vito direct and not buy it from somewhere else? I don't know, but really appreciate smashing the like button there, just JT Cali. That really helps out the stream, bud. What was the most rusted equipment I've seen? Dude, those are hard questions, man. Thoughts on home warranty company working for them? Brian Merlin. Personally never worked for home warranty companies, but I do know the reputation that they have. They're selling an insurance policy. They're profiting off of that $300 to $1,200 insurance policy that they sell the homeowner when they buy the house, okay? And let's think about the math here. If they pay $1,200 or whatever it is for however many years, right, 10-year home warranty or whatever, how many home repairs until that $1,200 investment or $500 investment or whatever it is, until that company no longer becomes profitable? So it's in their best interest to not fix things and not warranty things because they want to stay profitable. Okay. I'm not a fan of the idea of home warranties, and I would be very skeptical about home warranty companies. Now, with that being said, again, I'm not naming any one home warranty company, but are you a warranty person or a non-warranty person? I typically don't buy warranties, but if I buy something that I'm a little bit iffy about, then I might buy a warranty, okay? But it's kind of a gamble. I'm essentially giving free money away to assume that someone's going to take care of it when it breaks, okay? And the odds are they're probably not going to take care of it because they're going to find a reason that it was your fault. But when it comes to working for home warranty companies, I mean, you got to do what's best for you and your company. I'm not a financial advisor telling you what's the best thing, but I'm going to tell you that home warranty companies, they're not going to want to pay you. So a home warranty company, though, might keep you busy during the slow time at a negotiated lower, much lower rate, right? I do warranty work for customers, for big manufacturers that do commercial equipment. They don't pay me crap for my wages, right? They pay, negotiated really low ball amounts, but it just keeps me busy during the slow time. So you got to kind of evaluate that one. I know that there's a common business practice, And the home warranty companies kind of think that, you know, by doing their work, they're giving you the opportunity to put your name out there. So you should be proud that you get to do work for the home warranty companies. I don't know about that, you know? So, but again, I'm getting kind of negative right now. And going off on a tangent as usual. Who is my favorite make of walk-in equipment? Well, Kevin, I really like the Hvacr refrigeration racks, or Cool Tech is the new company that makes their racks. I really like Russell refrigeration equipment. The condensing units are super nice. The Russell evaporators are pretty good. You know, they do a decent job. Yeah, so my favorite manufacturer of an actual box itself would probably be, I don't know. I don't really have a preference on manufacturers of walk-in boxes, but yeah, I like Russell equipment for the most part. The Tecumseh condensing units, when they were still using reciprocating compressors, were my favorite. The outdoor condensing units that had the giant built-in stainless steel cages and stuff, those things were awesome. I'm a little bit skeptical about the scroll compressors in the new guys, but Adam Spears, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. Thank you guys for watching this. It's very humbling to think that there's a bunch of you guys out there just watching me ramble right now. It's kind of crazy. So, what up, Bill? My buddy Curious HVAC guy's in here. So, do I ever work on Frank one-door walk-in freezers? You had an issue with the controller. Would the compressor not turn on due to the controller being bad? It's hard to say, Ricardo. I don't know your specific situation. You can try to send me an email. I can't promise that I'm going to get to it, but you can try to send me an email at hvacrvideos@gmail.com. It's hard to get hired at this time of the year for you in Southern Cali. JT Cali, it's hard to stay in business in Southern California right now. You know, especially doing restaurant work. It's a struggle right now. The restaurants are slowly opening up this week for us. Orange County, San Bernardino County, and LA County just opened up their restaurants to indoor dining for the first time in a very long time to 25% capacity, I think. Riverside County, which is the county that I'm in, has yet to open up to 25% capacity. But the restaurants are barely hanging on for dear life, basically. So we need those restaurants to start seating some people so we can start fixing some equipment that the cooks break. And let's just hope that the cooks don't, they continue their bad habits that they had before COVID, and they continue to break the equipment so I can fix it. Scott, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. He wants me to plug the swag. So good point. Thanks, Scott. Do me a favor, guys, and check out hvacrvideos.com. That's my website. We got hats, beanies, sweatshirts, shirts, and that's a good point, too. Thank you for reminding me, Scott. I do need, as I'm looking up at my shelf right now, I am about out of the large hats. I might have 5 or 6 left. I've already got an order in. I ordered another 100 hats. They'll be here in a couple weeks. So if you guys do go to the website and notice that we're out of the large, extra large hats, don't worry, they'll be back in stock in a couple weeks, okay? But yeah, please, guys, go check out the website, hvacrvideos.com. And Marat, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. That's really awesome. How is that the Hillmore swaging tool working out for you, Marat? So Marat RPM SoCal just did the $5 super chat right now. He won my Christmas giveaway. That one right there. You guys remember that? I still have that on my sound pad. So he won my Christmas video that I did. So if you guys don't already know, if you're new subscribers, over this last Christmas, I had posed a question on social media, and I didn't know, I didn't really have any intention. But anyways, long story short, I ended up making a video and picking a bunch of people and sending them the tools that they wanted, that they didn't know they were asking me for. And Marat ended up winning one of them. So he got a Hillmore swaging tool. So hopefully it's working out for you, bud. Let's see what else we got in here. Does the position of a condensing unit matter whether it's above or below the air handler? There's considerations that you need to think about when it is above or below, oil return being one of them. So if it's above the air handler, then there's the potential that the refrigerant can take the oil with it, right, down to the evaporator, and it could get stuck in the evaporator. So that's when proper piping practices really come into play. So it's really important to make sure that your refrigerant lines are sized appropriately and different things like that. But I mean, most residential air conditioning systems, the condensing unit is lower than the air handler, you know, but sometimes you'll see them above it. Just depends. So it's just really about the piping and stuff that you need to worry about. Let's see what else we got in here. I really, really appreciate that super chat, Owen. That is awesome, bud. Please, thanks. Hopefully you like what I have to offer here, bud. Let's see, I already answered that one. Hey, I really appreciate that, just JT Callie. Let me see what else I'm missing in here right now. Have I seen a very plugged up filter that was very stuck to the evaporator in a package unit? John Deere fan. Yeah, I've got some videos where I've got air filters that were so plugged up that the units were iced up and the ice was stuck. The filter was stuck because of the ice. Yeah, for sure. Have I had a liquid injection solenoid valve on a Russell condensing units break? You've had 2 units dump the whole charge due to this. Really like their units, well made. Just don't know if you're alone on this. Advanced Basher. So the Russell condensing units use the Copeland compressors, and they have a DTC valve. That's a discharge temperature controlled expansion valve. So that is actually a Copeland product. That DTC valve is OEM specific to those Copeland low temperature compressors. So if it has the liquid injection, that's not really a Russell problem per se, unless they did something to pipe it incorrectly. I've never had that problem. I'd be kind of curious because I do install a lot of their equipment. Send me an email, bud. If you have pictures or anything like that, that'd be awesome. hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Let's see. Swage tool is great. Right on. Yeah. Yeah, that music is the music that I had for the giveaway video. I have it on my sound pad right here. I just found it. In Wallace, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. I hope that the kayak. So at the beginning of the COVID thing, I was really looking for a kayak. And I was having a hard time finding them. And to be honest with you, I kind of forgot about the whole kayak thing. One of these days, I'll probably end up getting one. Right now, I'm on a new trip right now, and I have a Jeep in mind. I want to pick up a new Jeep, and that's kind of a goal of mine. But I don't know. I get this like fixation on things. I have, weird mental problems and stuff. So I like seriously focus on things. And once I get my mind stuck on it, I can't stop. So now that I'm like considering getting a Jeep, it's like stuck in my head and I see them everywhere. And every time I see one, it's like, oh, I want that Jeep and different stuff like that. But maybe if I get a Jeep, I can get a kayak to go on top of it. So let's see what else. What else do we have going on in here? Hello, everybody that's coming in here right now. Do I use the spin tool? Chad, yes, I do. And I'm going to be making a video on that on the HVACR Tools channel because I use the spin swage tool and I have some negative things to say about it. I really like it. I loved it until something happened to me. And then I realized, holy crap, this happens to a lot of people. And it's really frustrating about the spin swage tool. So I'm not going to reveal what the problem is or what it is as of yet. But just stay tuned. It'll come out on the HVACR Tools YouTube channel. If you guys haven't subscribed, please definitely go subscribe. I'll post a link in the chat right now. No, I'm not going to get a Jeep Gladiator. I'm going to end up getting a Wrangler. But yeah, not a Gladiator. All right, let's see what else in here. Jeeps are for girls. That's funny. All right. Everybody's saying Jeeps are for girls. That's too funny. Jeeps. Well, my wife's going to be driving it, so yeah. REI for a kayak. Yeah, Peter. I love going to REI. They get a little bit too much on my money. Let's see what else. What else do we got in here? We got a situation. All right. Why do I need liquid injection on scrolls and not reciprocating compressors? Well, I mean, there's times that you want it on reciprocating compressors too, but the scroll compressors, I don't know the exact reason why you just need them on a scroll compressor, but I can tell you why you need them. Well, they have more potential for overheat, but I mean, theoretically that can happen with a reciprocating compressor too. That's a good question. So yeah, they did have liquid injection on the reciprocating compressors. They would use like temperature responsive expansion valves. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to answer that question right now because you got me thinking about that. I'm going to write it down and do some research, though. I'm sure I can reach out to my buddy Trevor Matthews, who we just had on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel on the live stream 2 Fridays ago. We had Trevor Matthews from Emerson, Canada. And I'm sure I can reach out to Trevor and or Don Gillis from Emerson and figure out if there's truth in that. I think you have to be concerned about liquid injection on both style of compressors. It really has to do with the high compression ratios and the the high discharge temps. Yeah, I'm thinking as we're talking right now, so you guys don't need to hear me rambling. So I'll look into that one. Do I accept free food from my customers? Typically, no. I typically don't accept free food from the customers. Every once in a blue moon, but when you work at the same restaurants over and over and over again, it's not really something I want to eat at. I did go with my family. This is going to be a totally regional specific thing, but I went with my family to a restaurant up in Ventura this weekend. We drove up to Ventura on Saturday, which is about 2 hours from my house just because we were bored. And we went to a seafood restaurant called Lure. It's a kind of a moderately upscale, not like 5-star restaurant, but I mean, it was moderately expensive. I think it was like $30 a plate or something like that. But I took my wife and my kids to that place, and they have great food, by the way. So I know that's a regional thing. I think they have a couple restaurants in Scottsdale, Arizona, and then they have a few out here in the Ventura, Santa Barbara County areas. But yeah, great little restaurant for sure. All right. Jeeps are lit if you know how to drive it in the backcountry. That's what I would be doing, is driving it in the backcountry. So let me see what else we got. Yeah, Trevor Matthews was a cool dude for sure. Spells beer. That's funny. All right. What do I drive now? I have a Silverado, a Chevy Silverado, I think a 2014, and my wife drives a Honda Pilot. Let me see what else we got in here. What's with the kayaks? What happened with the kayaks? It's just something that I never followed up with. I had thought about getting a kayak for a while and talked about it for a while, and then I just kind of changed my focus on other things. So, oh, gotcha. All right. The best commonly used central AC units are what? Well, okay, so the best commonly used central AC units, okay, really, they're all the same. I mean, each manufacturer has little quirks. They all have problems. I can't tell you one manufacturer that doesn't have problems. To be honest with you, there's really only a few different manufacturers. You've got United Technologies, which is Carrier. They have a bunch of different off brands: Comfort Air, Bryant, Payne. They're all the same. And then you have Trane, you have York, and you have Lennox, Rheem, Goodman. I mean, there's only a few different ones, and they all have problems. It's really about who installs them. So it's really what the contractor that you choose to pick is comfortable working on, and who they work with as far as warranty and stuff. But honestly, they're all pretty equal. I mean, when you get into the higher end ones, they have more fancy control systems and proprietary controls and communicating and all that crap. But really, they're all just, pretty much the same. So, all right. Have I ever used a fan pitch gauge before? I've used a fan pitch gauge maybe once. I think I used to have one in my van. I think I took it out a while back because I never use it. So, I am one step closer to being a park ranger with that Jeep. So Laska is an OG subscriber right there. So someone had asked me a long time ago, I don't know how it came up, but the one job that I would do if I wasn't in HVAC, so in another life, not changing anything about my family, because I wouldn't want to change my wife or my kids, right? Obviously. But if I had a choice to be something else, I would be a park ranger. And I'm talking the park ranger, like not at your regional park where people are throwing birthday parties and crap like that. I would be a park ranger out in the middle of Yellowstone National Park or Yosemite or, up in the mountains somewhere. Like, I would be the park ranger that only sees people every once in a while. That would be an ideal job in another life for sure. I'm an outdoors person at heart, and, I really don't like people very much. No offense. All right. Have I ever seen a walk-in unit that kept pulling into a vacuum? I don't know, bud. Let me see what else we got in here. Headmaster versus TXV troubleshooting. Meaning that, is it the Headmaster and or the TXV? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say that majority of the problems, in my opinion, that people find, and when they misdiagnose Headmasters and or TXVs, they will typically be charge-related problems, okay? In order for a Headmaster and or a head pressure control valve, I have a cutaway of one right here, okay, to work, you have to have the proper amount of refrigerant in the system. There's a common misconception that when you have a winter charge, the amount, the refrigerant you add for the head pressure control valve that you have to take that out in the summer, and that is absolutely incorrect. If the system is designed properly, you put in the winter charge, right? They call it the winter charge because it's commonly only used in the winter, but it stays in the system all year long. But headmasters are often misdiagnosed because people don't understand how they work. I have lots of videos showing the head pressure control valves and or headmasters where we can go into depth, but it's all about, and even the same thing with the expansion valves. Expansion valves are commonly misdiagnosed too. There's really not a whole lot to fail in an expansion valve. The most common failure items are the power head right here. And if you choose a Sporlan valve that has a removable power head, you can simply swap the power head if the valve's not opening. Also on the expansion valves, the strainer. On this liquid inlet right here, there'll be a strainer, and that strainer can get plugged up, and that can cause erratic behavior by the expansion valve too. So before you go changing an expansion valve, clean the strainer, look into the power head, possibly change that. Majority of the time, unless it's just completely gummed up inside, there's not much that's going to fail on an expansion valve. So you feel free to send me an email, bud. There's a lot more to that question. So hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Yeah, with a Yogi Bear. Yep, for sure. I would be out there with Yogi Bear for sure. Hey Chris, Manitowoc or Hoshizaki? If you put a gun to my head, I'd probably choose a Hoshizaki. Did you ever forget to vacuum an AC system and started to charge it? Well, hell, I can probably tell you that when I was taught, Chad, coming up in the trade, we didn't, I have to be careful about this. Before 1992, we didn't use recovery machines, and I didn't use a vacuum pump. I was taught some old school ways that weren't true. So when I was first brought up, what you would do, and again, this was absolutely incorrect. There was no way that there was anything right about this. It was just ignorance. But we would finish our repair, and then we would purge the system with R22. Put R22 in the high side, and then take your low side gauge off and let it blow through the system. And when it started coming out, you just put it on and call it a day. Absolutely wrong. Okay, that was absolutely wrong. There's nothing correct about that, but there's many systems that I did that to because I didn't know any different, and I was told, and I just, it just didn't seem quite right, you know? So did I ever forget to vacuum an AC system and started to charge it? I can't think of a specific instance, but I'm sure something like that has happened. What about this one? Have you ever put the vacuum pump on a system, right? And then started to charge it and then realized that there was no Schrader cores and you had normal gauges without core removal tools? Because I've done that. That's an interesting dilemma, right? Having to recover all the refrigerant to put the Schraders back in. Yeah, that's not a fun one. All right, what else we got? How often would I hook up my gauges to a system? What are my methods for avoiding this if this is the case? Juvenile Locky Oz. So, you know, it really is just walking up to the system. The recent video that I did where the walk-in cooler wasn't working and I went out there, I went up to the system. It was raining outside. I found a defrost clock that wasn't working right and the box was down to temperature. When I turned it back on and got the compressor to turn on, the sight glass was clear and the system was maintaining temperatures then. So I did not see a need that night to put service gauges on the system because the vitals of the box being down to temp, the defrost clock being obviously the problem, and we had a clear sight glass was an instance that I didn't need to put gauges on there. Now, the next time that I came back out, I did end up putting service gauges on there, but you know, we want to avoid putting service gauges on any systems that we can because the more times you put service gauges on there, the more chance you have for contaminating that system. So let's see what else. Oil heat or gas heat, any experience? I've only ever worked with gas heat, Juvenile, so I have no preference on oil. I can't really say anything. Why can you adjust a TXV on reefer but not on AC systems? Why no strainers on ACs? Hunter King. Well, typically on AC systems, you can't really pump them down to clean the strainer on the expansion valve, okay? But I would say that majority of the time there probably still is a strainer on a expansion valve for an AC system. But again, I'm not super confident in that answer, so I'm not going to say 100% that there is. What was the other part of your question? Why can you adjust a TXV on a refrigeration system but not on an air conditioning system? It really is going to come down to the manufacturer and how much money they wanted to spend for that expansion valve that they designed the system with. Because they certainly do make residential expansion valves that are adjustable, but the manufacturer more than likely just didn't buy an adjustable one. Okay, that would be my guess. Let's see what else we got going on in here. The Sporlan classes are great. And let's see, Big Huff. Sporlan, I said it in the very beginning. I'm going to say it again because you just reminded me. Sporlan actually has a webinar coming up this Thursday on defrost strategies, talking about the different types of defrost. It'll be at 1 p.m. Central. I just posted a link in the chat, you guys. Feel free to check that out coming this Thursday. Let's see what else. Do I see R11? No, I don't see R11 in the stuff that I'm doing. Recover into a bucket of water if my tank is full. I've never done the recover into a bucket of water, but again, pre-1992, before it was illegal, I think I told this story very recently. I was in a restaurant dumping the charge, right? Again, absolutely incorrect because I was taught incorrectly, but I was dumping the charge into the restaurant. And as I'm standing on the ladder, I start to see all the cooks start to cough and their eyes are watering. And I'm standing up on a ladder working on an ice machine going, what's going on? You know, they're all freaking out. And I'm just like, what's going on here? And they don't know what's going on. Well, what happened was as the refrigerant was being, you know, let out into the atmosphere, it was falling to the ground and it made its way over to a flame. And then it created that phosgene gas and it just took out the whole kitchen. So luckily in our situation, they had exhaust fans running. I stopped venting that refrigerant again before 1992 or whatever the legal date for it was. And, opened up the doors and aired out the building and all that stuff. But we did a lot of things, that were really stupid. And, especially when I was ignorant and young and didn't know the legalities and different stuff like that. Can I charge glycol systems to beer can cold? No, you cannot. All right. Let me see what else we got going on in here. Inhale as much R22 as you can. EPA circa 1992, probably. Yep. Have I seen a pressure control set too low and ended up with internal compressor damage? I wouldn't say internal compressor damage, but compressor just running to where it's not getting proper compressor cooling. Yeah, for sure. If a low pressure control is set too low. How often would I already answered that question. I already answered those ones. Let's see what else we got going on in here. All right. Well, green flames in the kitchen are not good. Yeah, it was basically a giant halide leak detector in that restaurant at the time. So yeah, not a safe thing. Don't do that. Probably not good for my lungs, and I'm sure I'm going to pay for that in the future. Does acid away work well? Well, that is a good question, Adam Spears. Depends on who you talk to. If you talk to the manufacturer, they're going to tell you that acid away is the greatest thing in the world. I used acid away for the first part of my career all the time. There's a couple different manufacturers. If you don't know what acid away is, it's an additive that you would add to the oil of the system. You would typically use it after a burnout, and then supposedly it would neutralize the acid in the oil, and it would just stay in the system, you know, get caught in the dryer or whatever. Well, the problem that I have with that, and again, I used it for many years, and I can't say that I've ever known of a problem because I was using an acid neutralizer, okay, or acid away or whichever brand you want to put in there. But my question is what does that really do inside the system? If you ask a manufacturer, okay, ask Carrier, let's go one further. Ask a compressor manufacturer if you should put an acid neutralizer in the compressor. They're going to tell you no. Compressor manufacturers are all going to say, do not put anything in our compressors except for the oil that belongs in them and the refrigerant that belongs in them, okay? There's very few instances, especially when people are extremely desperate, about 10 years ago, and they recommend that you use, you know, a rust inhibitor or an additive because of a rust inhibitor problem, you know, whatever. That's a whole nother story. But majority of the time, you're never going to get a compressor manufacturer that's going to approve anything. I would challenge you to look at the box of any of these additives, whether it be leak sealer, acid away, acid neutralizer, UV dyes, and you'll see something on there that says OEM approved or, you know, compressor manufacturer approved. Well, which compressor manufacturer? Which OEM? They're very vague in their marketing, okay? Majority of the compressor manufacturers out there don't want you to put anything in that compressor other than refrigerant and oil. So as of late, I'd say at least the last 5 years, I haven't really been using any additives to any of the systems because while I never really saw any problems because of the additives that I can prove, I also never really saw any improvement because of the additives. So I just would rather not you know, so I don't use any additives. So to answer your question, does acid away work well? I really don't know. You know, the supply house guys will tell you that it works, but the supply house guys will also tell you that you can put MO99 on top of R22, which is absolutely wrong. You never mix refrigerants, okay? So I don't know, man. You got to be cautious about using any of that stuff and use your best judgment. I'm not going to use it, but I'm not saying anybody's bad for using it. Just not my choice. Do I work on grow rooms? No, Kevin, I don't. Honestly, I'd love to get into any kind of the business that I mean, I'd love to get into more of that stuff. It'd be very interesting for me to get into it. I don't even know how to get started in the grow room stuff. Besides like the crappy ass mini splits, but I mean, I'd love to get into the real engineered systems where they're actually doing dehumidification and actually working properly. Those sound really interesting and they seem like a good aspect of the trade to get into right now. So yeah, I'd love to get into it. When I replace my equipment in my house, when will I replace the equipment in my house? I don't know. I've thought about, you know, doing it maybe this year or something like that. We'll see. I'll definitely do a video series if I do it. Do I ever add the wrong refrigerant to a system by accident? Yes, I have, Chad. I've done that a couple times. Luckily I've caught it, you know, midway through, and then you just recover the refrigerant, dispose of it, and put new refrigerant in it. How do you know where to set cut-in temperatures? As in pressure to turn on? Well, that's a little bit more than I can explain on a live stream, but essentially what you're going to need to do is find the desired temperature within the box that you want to reach, and you're going to need to look at the evaporator TD. You're going to need to look at the outdoor conditions. There's a lot of math that goes into it, but really you're going to use a pressure chart, look at the saturation temperatures, and find the corresponding box temperatures. Feel free. See, I'm trying to think. It's gonna be a hard one for me to answer in an email too. Maybe I'll write that down. Feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and remind me, and I'll try to make that a video topic idea, something that I'm working on. And maybe we can make a video on setting pressure controls, for temperature and stuff like that. That'd be a good video, I think. Let's see what else. What is the biggest tonnage of unit I have ever worked on? Probably 35 tons. I've never worked on any big industrial stuff. So, all right, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. You guys making it in here. Can you guys please smash the thumbs up button? We currently have 327 people in here and about 262 likes. So please smash that thumbs up button on your way out. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream because I can smell dinner cooking in the other room. I don't know what it is though, but I saw some salmon defrosting in the fridge, so I'm hoping it's that. I really appreciate you making it in here. Yeah, I think that's it. Check out the HVACR Tools YouTube channel if you guys haven't already. Myself and my buddies are all doing videos on there, so I post the link in there right now. And I really, really appreciate you guys making it in, okay? If you guys have ideas for tools, what you want to email is tools@hvacrvideos.com. I just posted the email in there right now. Tools@hvacrvideos.com if you have ideas and things you want us to talk about as far as tools go. Yeah, I don't have a link to the Discord right now. But there's a link in the show notes of this video to the Discord, so you guys can feel free to check that out. I go on there occasionally. What can happen if a compressor shorts in an R290 system? Chad, really, there shouldn't be much that's going to happen if it shorts out. The only time you'd have to be really concerned about an R290 compressor shorting out is if there was a terminal vent where there's a potential spark. I mean, perfect situations, but if a compressor shorts to ground, it's an enclosed system. It's not really going to explode. For a fire, you need a spark, oxygen, and heat. You need spark, oxygen, and fuel, right, for a fire to happen. So and a compressor is an enclosed place where there's not the perfect mixture of oxygen, fuel, and a spark. So really it's when the refrigerant leaves the compressor, maybe on a terminal vent where you might see a flame out or something like that. But I mean, I really don't think you're going to have an explosion per se that's going to blow the building up. I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and exit this out. I really, really appreciate you guys making it to the end of this. We're going to cue up the outro music, and we will catch you guys on the next one, okay? Wrong music.